Well, good afternoon. Just a very quick update. I'm actually just about to head out the door and head down to Dublin Airport, jump on a plane and go to Italy. It's actually not a photography trip. We're heading across for a family wedding, but of course, when in Rome and all that. So it left me with a bit of a conundrum. Basically, as I said, it's not a photography trip and I'm only taking hand luggage. I was very tempted to go ahead and grab the XT1 with the 18-135mm lens. And then I thought, well, even that's got a little bit of bulk to it in terms of what I'm taking with me in hand luggage. I kind of just wanted something that could just slip into the pocket. So, coming with me is the most excellent X100T. This camera pretty much goes everywhere with me. It's even got its own diary, its own journal, the X100 diaries. I'll throw a link in the show notes. So this X100T is coming with me, and one of these Joby GorillaPods is coming with me as well. Now, obviously, that's the maximum height of the GorillaPod, so I'm going to have to be quite creative in terms of setting up. Also coming with me is an iPad, 2 batteries for the X100T, a cable release for the X100T, and I think that's it. So I'm going to set myself a couple of challenges. Challenge number 1, I'm going to see about doing some long exposure photography with the X100T. Now, I'm not taking any filters with me, so of course what I'm thinking about here is as the light goes down, the X100T has a built-in ND filter which stops about 2 stops of light, roughly speaking. So with some creative use in and around sunset and the blue hour, I may be able to get myself some long exposure type stuff. Challenge number 2, I want to do some pano stitching with the X100T as well. Obviously a 23mm, 35mm in old money focal length isn't going to be overly wide for some of the shots that I have in mind. So I'm going to consider doing some pano stitching, both vertical and horizontal. And then the third sort of challenge that I'm going to set myself is actually to put together a bit of a kind of a storyboard of my whole trip for the X100 diaries. One of the shots that I'll take as part of either the long exposure or the pano stitching, I then will want to print an A3 print, hopefully. So that's about it, really. So traveling very light, traveling with one camera and the iPad, and we'll see what we can do. In terms of traveling with the iPad, I'm also going to see whether I can do 90% of the editing on the road. Obviously, the iPad is not color calibrated. It's got a different light, it's different brightness. So of course, I want to bring the photograph back into the raw file, back into my desktop for some final tweaks. But pretty much 90% of the editing I want to do on the iPad itself. So I think that's it. I think I'm all packed up and ready to go. So I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, probably in the airport. See you later. At the Castel Sant'Angelo, which is the shot that I had envisaged at sunset. didn't think it was going to work because about 3 hours ago the weather was pretty diabolical, but the sun has come out. My preference would have been to shoot from the other side of the bridge, but that's a sunrise shot. So I have my trusty X100T. As you know, we are traveling light this time, so just with the X100T, and we have our setup. I'll just turn you around here and let you see the view. So basically had to improvise, obviously a little bit of height. Probably not as still as I maybe would have liked it, but as the sun starts to go down you might get sort of a bit of a longer shutter speed going on there. So but for now this is kind of what we're going to work with, and we're probably going to look at blending at least probably an hour's worth of images. Take a little bit of this light, take a little bit of the blue R, and then hopefully as the lights come on, as things get darker, blend that in as well. So at the moment shooting f11, obviously on the 23mm lens, 35mm equivalent, and we'll see how we go. Very simple composition. This is more in relation to blending multiple slices of time. So that sun's going to disappear from view quite soon, so I'm going to fire off a couple of shots with the sun illuminating the bridge, and then we'll wait to see what happens with the sky. Fingers crossed. So we're not quite sure whether those clouds are going to kind of light up or not. There's just a little hint of the pinkness coming now. I'm also not sure what time they turn the lights on the bridge and in the building itself, so we're waiting here a little bit too long. But anyway, one of the things I was going to say was obviously what I'm looking to do is smooth out the water, so a longer shutter speed, and I haven't brought any filters, as I said earlier in the video. But the great thing about the X100T is it has a built-in ND 2-stop filter, so that's allowing me to kind of remove 2 stops of light. So as the light drops, that's going to help me increase the shutter speed much quicker than simply having a natural open shot. So we'll see how we go. But as I say, there seems to be a bank of cloud. The sun has now disappeared beyond the visible horizon. I think there's a bank of clouds as well as a bride and groom down there. As well as a bride and groom. As well as a bride and groom. As well as a bride and groom. I think there's a bank of clouds which may impact how much light we get in the clouds above the building and above the bridge. But we'll see how we go. It's about 15 minutes to sunset, so we'll see how we go. Catch up in a bit. So the colour's kind of continuing to build. I'm now kind of focusing on the clouds rather than the bridge. So my exposure is I've kind of underexposed the image quite a lot, the foreground under the image, to allow me to actually really pick up all of the detail in the clouds. And I've also just seen that the lights have come on, so fingers crossed the lights on the bridge come on soon too. Got potential. So I've just noticed that the lights below the building have now come on, and that's starting to add a little bit of colour. There's still gorgeous sunset light in the clouds over here, still really beautiful light over here, and in fact some of that reflective light is also showing up on the bridge as well. Starting to lose a little bit of that colour in the clouds above the building, but still the clouds to the right hand side are fantastic. One of the limitations that I am obviously facing is I'm on a 35mm equiv focal length, and so I'm not going to be getting a lot of those colours in the water. There's some nice sort of colour reflections, but I'm cropped in just a little bit too much. But last thing I really want now to happen is get those lights on the bridge on and let the lights in below the building start to warm up a little, That'll just give us a little bit more colour in the building. And the jigsaw is complete. The lights on the bridge have finally come on, so I've put my aperture now to f16 because I want to put a little bit of burst in those lights on the bridge. I also played a little bit more with really sort of underexposing it. Just the clouds had just turned this really moody purpley colour, so things are really starting to come together. So before I move on, I'm just going to go through each of the different steps again. I'm going to expose an image for the building. I'm going to expose a couple of images for the various sets of lights. I'm going to expose another couple of images for the sky, although I think the sky has mostly gone. And then I'm probably going to expose a really high, long exposure, maybe 30 seconds or more, to get really smooth water. And then hopefully I've got enough images in there that I'll be able to pick a few of them and blend together slices of time. So yeah, those lights now have warmed up, and so I'm shooting here f16, 25 seconds, and that's giving me a nice burst of light on those lights across the bridge. And then I'll go through the other pieces of the jigsaw and expose for those as well. And that's me. So a bit of patience. The light came good in the sky. The area actually lit up in stages, and of course the lights then took a while to sort of burn in and heat up. But yeah, really pleased with that. Really pleased with that. And even a single image has got some potential as well. So there we go. First image that I had in mind from Rome. Probably potentially the only image that I'm going to have in Rome today, simply because of the weather earlier on. But quite pleased with that. So we'll catch up later in the trip. Beautiful, beautiful place. So, several days have passed since the last footage was shot, and this is actually our last night in Spello. My plan was to shoot on this side of the village, but as you can see behind me, there's not much going on with the light. So I think the images that I'm probably going to show now, which are just little snapshots from the last few days, hopefully show some of the beauty of Spello, of Assisi, and of Spoleto. Three beautiful towns here in southern Italy, which we've been exploring. Interestingly, one of the things that coming here has shown me is I actually would like to add some cityscape photography to my portfolio. Now, not necessarily modern cities per se, but some of the beautiful cities here in Italy have really got me going from that perspective, and even to a certain degree Rome as well. So I think that's pretty much everything from this trip. As I say, it wasn't a photography trip. I hopefully have got the shot that I came for in Rome, and I've added a few additional ones just for my X100 diaries, which I'll put a link to in the show notes. Now, however, I think it's time to go get a glass of Rosso, something to eat, probably pasta. Beautiful pasta in these parts. And then we step on the plane tomorrow and head back to sunny Northern Ireland. That doesn't sound right, does it? Right, hope you enjoyed this. As always, hit the subscribe button, leave me any comments in the show notes, and we'll catch up again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. The heating bill in Dublin Airport must be astronomical. Next time I come here, I'm growing tomatoes.